I had always lived behind walls. Grand walls, gilded walls, walls built from expectations and rules. Being Ariya Rattanakosin, a name people whispered with awe, had its privileges and its prisons. Every move I made was scrutinized, every smile measured. But that afternoon, I needed air. I needed freedom. So, I slipped out of the mansion, the heavy gold gates behind me closing softly like a sigh of relief. That was when I met him, Kiet. A delivery guy with warm eyes and an easy smile. He didn't bow, didn't act impressed, didn't speak to me like I was a title. He looked at me like I was just Ariya. And in that moment, something shifted inside me. For the first time in my life, I laughed freely. For the first time, I felt like someone actually saw me. If you're enjoying my story so far, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel, Philot_W Stories, so you can follow every twist of this romance that's just beginning. We started seeing each other in secret after that. Quick late-night street food runs, motorbike rides under neon city lights, quiet talks by the riverside where no one knew our names. It felt reckless, dangerous, and thrilling all at once. A forbidden romance quietly bloomed, and every stolen moment made the walls around me feel thinner, softer, more alive. I didn't know then that Kiet would change everything. Not just my heart, but the world I thought I knew. I thought we were careful. I really did. But in the city, nothing stays secret for long. Rumors began to spread like wildfire. Photos of Kiet and me, laughing under street lamps or sharing quiet river moments, started popping up online. The whispers reached the ears of everyone I knew, and those I didn't. High society was ruthless. Invitations I had taken for granted were rescinded. People I once smiled at now looked through me, judging, mocking. And then, of course, there was my mother. The coldest storm I had ever known. "You are destroying our name," she spat at me one evening, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Do you understand what you're doing, Ariya? You could have anyone at all, and you chose him." And then Niren, my ex, my former fiancé, the golden boy everyone adored, decided to humiliate me publicly. He leaned close at a gala, eyes glinting with arrogance, and said, "You left a millionaire for a delivery boy?" I felt every eye in the room on me, waiting for me to crumble. But I didn't. I wouldn't. I looked at Kiet, standing quietly beside me, and I knew the answer. I chose him. I chose him again and again, despite the world, despite my family, despite everything. There was one thing I didn't know, one thing Kiet kept from me. He was no ordinary delivery guy. He was the secret son of a reclusive billionaire, living anonymously in the shadows of a life most people could only dream of. And for reasons I couldn't yet understand, he wanted me to love him. Not the wealth he hid. The day of our wedding, I felt a strange mix of fear and exhilaration. I knew the world would never approve. Against my family's wishes, against the whispers of the city's elite, I was about to marry Kiet. Not in a grand hall, not with chandeliers and 100 cameras, but in a tiny temple, with only monks chanting softly and a handful of our closest friends watching. As I walked down the narrow aisle, I could feel the judgment of those who refused to attend. My mother had disowned me weeks ago. Social media was already alight with insults, memes, and comments mocking me for marrying a poor man. Some people even called me foolish, naive, blind. But I didn't care. Not for a single second. I looked at Kiet, messy hair from the morning breeze, eyes bright and alive, a smile that made the world outside disappear, and I knew. This was where I belonged. This was the life I wanted. Simple. Honest. Full of love. No mansion, no wealth, no titles could have made me feel the way I felt holding his hands, repeating vows we had written ourselves. We were not marrying for appearances. We were marrying for us. And in that quiet temple, with the sun filtering through the windows and the scent of incense in the air, I felt free. Truly free. It had only been a week since Kiet and I had married, but life already felt lighter, freer. We were settling into our little apartment, laughing over burnt toast, sharing quiet mornings, and dreaming about the future. And then, everything changed. A sleek black Rolls-Royce pulled up in front of our modest building, its engine purring like a predator. I frowned. Who could this be? Out stepped a man in a perfectly tailored suit, tall, imposing, with an aura of authority that made the city seem small around him. My heart stuttered when Kiet's face went pale. "Father," he whispered. The man, Mr. Southam, the billionaire founder of a global tech empire, embraced Kiet tightly. And then, to my shock, he knelt before me, his eyes gentle but serious. "Thank you for loving my son when he lived as a nobody." The next morning, the world exploded. Social media, news outlets, and gossip columns could barely keep up. The delivery guy? He wasn't just any ordinary man. He was the heir to a multi-billion-dollar empire, owner of shares in a global tech company, one of the richest young men in Asia. Suddenly, the people who had mocked me, the high society, my mother, even Nairan, went silent. Their laughter and ridicule vanished like mist. And yet, I didn't feel vindicated. I felt relief. Relief that the man I loved, the man I had chosen for his heart, not his wealth, was finally seen for who he truly was. I took Kiet's hand, squeezing it tightly. I didn't need the world to approve anymore. I had him. And he had me. The world had finally seen the truth. Kiet was no longer just the delivery guy who had stolen my heart. He was a billionaire heir, a man whose name carried power, influence, and legacy. And now, the people who had scorned me were coming back. My mother, her pride wounded, tried to crawl back into my life. Nairan, humiliated and desperate, begged for forgiveness. High society groups, the very same people who had mocked my choices, suddenly sought my attention. I ignored them all. Every insult, every laugh, every doubt, they no longer mattered. My world was small, honest, and ours. Kiet turned to me one quiet evening, his eyes soft with the truth he had kept hidden for so long. "I wanted someone who loved me, not my money," he said. I smiled, feeling my heart swell with certainty. "And I married you because your heart was priceless," I whispered back. Together, we prepared to take over the empire, not as heiress and heir, but as equals. As partners. As the couple no one had believed in. The girl they mocked had become the woman they now feared, and the man by her side was the one she had chosen for love, not for wealth. Our story wasn't about revenge. It was about loyalty, trust, and the courage to follow your heart. And now, the world would watch us rise. If you've enjoyed following my journey, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Philot_W Stories for more tales of love, drama, and surprises that will steal your heart.